Rules in action. Rules that keep things going smoothly and fairly. Rules that help us get where we're going. Help us work together, play together, and live together. Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a city college quintet faces five basket fancy red boots from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York draws 2 points worth of first blood.
And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sports sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Bob Coble eases the Helen into the basket to take the lead.
Do you think you could walk this quietly? Listen to this work sound.
But tribal warfare comes to the gymnasium as the St. John's Indians retaliate with 2 points. From now on, the game is touch and go, with 10 men helping to get it there. A beautiful display of teamwork, and Northwestern gets in the number column with sharpshooting Bob Coble doing the honors.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn the Game, where you learn if you got an F for effort. And today we're going to be talking about the most dominant players that are more dominant than your favorite players of today. First, before we get into that, I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. If you're new to the channel, if this just has popped up on your feed, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, go and look through the rest of the stuff that we've got. We got some fantastic stuff on this channel. We are missing Politicus Rex today. He, like myself, our alternate names are sick and tired. So he is sick and tired today. I am just one of them. Anyway, so as we get into this, I just wanted to talk about something that just really irks me to my core, is when people talk about these great players that are playing today, but completely ignore the accomplishments, the feats, the accolades, and just ignore the history of the game and what happened in the past. When we talk about peak, or when I talk about peak, when I think of it, I think about dominance across time. I think about dominance across a season. And I think there's really a certain amount of characterizations that you can define that by, because dominance means to be commanding, controlling, and prevailing above all others. So you can really only do that within a season when you're facing somebody. Now, otherwise, there are total stats, etc., but that's not really a competition. That's just an accumulation. That's a record. So I'm going to get into this, but I wanted to give you the foundation of where I'm basing off this, and how I'm defining peak in respect to dominance is your average across the entirety of your career that these players that they've had. Again, if you have any disagreements, if you have something you want to say, I'm going to drop this StreamYard link right now. That way, you can go and call in if you want to add on to something or if you have any disagreements. But I'm going to bring up a slideshow right now just to show you who I'm going to be talking about. So there's 4 players that I'm going to talk about today that I believe that there's a significant amount of old school players that you may or may not know intimately about in respect to there's a bunch of players that are better than these 4 players that are playing today. These players that were, I think there's a significant amount of people that had a higher peak than are LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, Steph Curry, and Nikola Jokic. And I'm going to do 3 of them each because, as you can see, I think in total with these 4 players, there's 37 players that are greater or had a higher peak than Nikola Jokic. So I'm only doing 3 for each of them. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go into the top 3 guys that I think had a greater peak than LeBron James. All right. First is George Mikan. Now, George Mikan was a 4-time All-Star. He was a total rebounding champion. He was a 6-time All-BAA NBA player, 3-time scoring champion, 5-time NBA champion. He was the All-Star MVP. And this is during a time where you didn't have the MVP award. The rebounding champion came in later in his career. Now, why his peak is so dominant is because although he only played 7 years in the NBA, he did all of these things holistically across that time period. So just to reiterate, in 7 seasons, he was a 4-time All-Star, 5-time champion. He was a 3-time scoring champion and 6-time All-League guy. And this is not even accounting for the things that are missing overall time. For instance, he didn't also have all defense awards. There was no Defensive Player of the Year awards. There's no counting for blocks or steals. And when I think of dominance, I think of statistical titles. I think of championships. I think of awards. I think of these things that accumulate through the totality of greatness throughout a career. So even with the lack of these things, keeping it fair without drawing down the level, George Mikan still had a higher peak throughout his entire career than LeBron James. Because in comparison, although LeBron James has had a more storied, longer career with an accumulation of these things, when you compact it down to an average of what his achievements are, he doesn't match up with George Mikan. And this is outside of George Mikan's being the first NBA superstar, being the guy that is the reason why the NBA was created with the BAA-NBL merger. They wanted to find a superstar. He was the greatest player in the country, and as evidenced by these 2 large leagues mergers and him being on top of it. That was the result of them attempting this, and then it grew into eventually what the NBA is today, stacking off of the basis and the foundation of a superstar like George Mikan. So I'm not even talking about the stories behind him. I'm just talking about him and how he was able to dominate the league through awards, accolades, and titles. And with that, some of the things that he's done, he's had, even though he hasn't had the highest points per game, this is a sidebar, he hasn't had the highest points per game, but he's had the highest average, I guess, if it's not usage rate, but in respect to the percentage of points that his team has scored in respect to the total of the team points, he has the highest average in NBA history. So that's something interesting about George Mikan. Please let me know in the comments if you think I'm being wild, if you got something to say, if you got something to add on of why you think these guys did or did not have a higher peak than the guys I'm talking about today. Right now, I'm talking about LeBron James. So I'm going to go into the second guy, and that's Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy played 14 years total in his career. One of those years, he came back out of retirement and played. He was 41 years old. Played 7 total games. He was actually the coach of the Cincinnati Royals. Just was having a hard time getting that team together. Thought that he can come and play and do it better. But throughout his career, in 14 years, he was a 13-time All-Star, 6-time NBA champion, 2-time All-Star MVP, 1-time MVP, 12 All-NBA team guy, and he was All-NBA team 10 times out of his 14 years, first team All-NBA. And then he was an 8-time assist champion. He did that 8 times in a row. Now, someone like LeBron James had 2 statistical titles throughout his career. He had a bunch of All-NBAs. He hasn't won as many NBA championships. He's won more MVPs. But what's most important about all these guys is they're doing all these things in the same year. That's dominance. When you're able to compound dominance across a career, it's fantastic. So if you're winning All-NBA first team, you're winning the MVP, you're winning the All-Star, you're winning the championship, that's more dominant than having one that's longer or has more accumulation in that one category. Or that's how I look at it. I don't really see how that's really debatable. What's up, man? How you doing? You think Bob Cousy's more dominant than LeBron James all time? And plus, if anyone's interested that's watching, please call in. Give me some pushback or agree with me. Either way, I want to hear what you guys got to say. All right, basketball historian says Bob Cousy was more dominant than LeBron James. I agree. Very much so. All right. And this is outside of Bob Cousy in his greatness of his peak of just being absolutely dominant with the flashy passes, which transcended time. Yep. And then basketball historian says Bob Cousy is more skilled than LeBron. I think that's an argument too. I mean, as a scorer, as a passer, as a rebounder, as a point guard, Bob Cousy was often a top 3 point guard rebounder in the league. If I'm not mistaken, he was second to Tom Gola many years. Tom Gola is known as just guard. Tom Gola is known as one of the greatest guard rebounders of all time. So Bob Cousy was right behind him many years in respect to rebounding, even though he was a 6-foot tall guard. He's got a strong capacity for the entirety of the game. And again, this is the same thing with George Mikan. There's a lot of these things that weren't accounted for that we can't even incorporate. Steals and blocks for one of them amongst the all-defense teams and defensive player of the year. Now, a lot of the stories won't say that Bob Cousy would have won defensive player of the year or any of those all-defense teams. However, maybe he could have won some steals titles. Who knows? It wasn't being accounted for. All right, the last guy, and we're going to talk about who was more dominant than LeBron James, and that's William Felton Russell. Bill Russell, I like to say he's my grandfather, look a ton alike. Just to give out some of that raw stuff across his career, he was a 12-time All-Star, 11-time NBA champion, 5-time MVP. He was in the inaugural All-Defensive team. He was first team All-NBA the year that he retired. So I wonder how much further that would have went. 4-time rebounding champion, 11-time All-NBA player, 1-time All-Star MVP. Now, again, many of those just by themselves outperform what LeBron James did, but when you compound them together to show how dominant he was across the league, that's what really shows dominance in his peak, being able to go and just do all these things. And one of the things, as everyone knows, that drove a lot of that dominance was him winning those NBA championships 11 times out of 13 years in his career. Now, one thing that a lot of people knock him for is that he was matched up with Wilt Chamberlain, who took and won a lot of those All-NBA first teams away from him. However, he still had a significant amount of All-NBA first teams. He was still a 3-time All-NBA first team player, out of those 11 times. And either way, it's still the second most. It's still dominance. It's accounted for as being, as an award, being dominant as being one of the greatest players in the NBA at the time. Listening to Bill Russell when he was a broadcaster, it makes you think you're talking with your grandfather. No, Bill Russell, I always love listening to Bill Russell talk or comment on his time of the NBA, and in some respects, just all time of the NBA. Some of his current stuff was cool too, but I liked how he talked about greatness and why things that he did during his time were fantastic, and people should have acknowledged them as all-time great moments, particularly for some of his battles with Wilt Chamberlain or Jerry West or Elgin Baylor, amongst others, Oscar Robertson. So those things I really loved hearing about when he was alive, talking about it. Casual Hoop says, I'd agree those three are more dominant than LeBron. Bron gets more credit for being consistent for so long, but he wasn't necessarily extremely dominant. Exactly. So now the All-NBA second team, I'm not even really a fan of accounting for all the way, but I still account for it because the NBA accounts for it as a dominance trait. But absolutely, that's the whole point of this, is that it's not particularly against LeBron James, but LeBron James, his greatness is more tied to his longevity and his totality of accumulating these things. A lot of the times they didn't compound. SGA Sports Talk, yes, I dropped the StreamYard link. You're welcome to call in. You just click the link on the comments section. You should be able to do that. If not, I'll drop it again. Now, with LeBron James, it's not to say that he wasn't dominant in his career. He absolutely was. He won he won all defense. He won all NBA, MVP, the championship, all those things in the same year, which is a feat that only a handful of people ever did. And he did that a couple times. The point of it is, though, is that these guys, even though some of their careers were shorter, just showed how dominant they were when they were playing. And some of these guys have longer careers. I mean, 13 years is still a long time. It's not as long as LeBron James. But the point of it is that there is still so much dominance tied to these guys in comparison, because when you're just winning All-Stars and all NBA second teams, to me, it's not impressive when you do all of these things in the same year in respect to championships, awards, titles, other accolades that are accounted for within the NBA. But SGA Sports Talk, yeah, the link is dropped. If you can get in, cool. I'm going to move on to the next guy that might be one of your favorite guys that are playing or have played, was the Shaquille O'Neal. Now, I wanted to bring it back to somebody who's largely considered the most dominant player of all time. I think Shaq is one of the most dominant players of all time. But this presentation is an accumulation thing. So these three guys that I talked about already, with George, Mike, and Bob Cousy and Bill Russell, are still more dominant than Shaq. These next three guys are also, in addition, more dominant than Shaq and fall past the LeBron being they're less dominant than LeBron. So let's see. Bob Pettit. All right. So Bob Pettit was an 11-time All-Star, total rebounding champion, 11-time All-NBA player, 4-time All-Star MVP. That's tied for first with Kobe Bryant. Now, that's something a lot of people don't want to talk about, is just his dominance within the greatest of the great games that occur. Now, everyone typically acknowledges that the All-Star game has cooled down a little bit. Some people blame LeBron James or other players for having to become more of a gimmick or a show that really they don't account for they're not as competitive as they used to be. But Bob Pettit reeled, particularly in that game. He wanted to be the best of the best if you watch some of the interviews surrounding him. Also, he was a 2-time scoring champion. He was an NBA champion, and he was a 2-time MVP. Now, he was an MVP over guys like Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, amongst other all great players. And during this time, he was known for his even though he was a finesse player, he's one of the guys that are known for, being one of the first weightlifters within the NBA. A very strong guy. His game particularly didn't fall under the basket as typically as a lot of these other guys. However, he was dominant as the things that I talked about. Every season in the NBA, including his rookie season, with exception to his final season, he was an All-NBA first-team player. His rookie season, as he won Rookie of the Year, All-NBA first-team player. His last season, he still won the All-NBA award, except it was second team. It's just something, and again, this is not accounting for blocks and steals. Now, he probably wouldn't have won those awards, but at the same, or maybe he would have in 1955 and 1956. Probably the rest of them, just as at least reputation talks about, and he might not have gotten that. But he may have won some all defense awards. He might have even been more dominant. Again, we don't even know. This is just accounting for what they had. And when you compare it to the same awards that they had more access to in the future, to include Shaquille O'Neal and others that I'm going to talk about, Bob Pettit was able to have a higher aspect of achieving these awards with the compounding characteristics to it to further exasperate dominance versus somebody like Shaquille O'Neal. All right, let's see some comments. I see some racist comments. I believe the physicality of the game is the reason why these guys from the 50s and 60s didn't play as long as the modern players. I think that is a large aspect of it. Going back to a guy that I talked about earlier, George Mikan, he reportedly broke over 100 bones in his body. SGIC backstage, I'm going to let you on in a second. I'm just going to finish this real fast and go through these comments. So, yes, so somebody like George Mikan absolutely destroyed his body. There's sports medicine. In contrast to today, where if you tear a knee, I'm not saying this is the case with Bob Pettit, you tear a knee or ACL, MCL, etc., you're not getting back out there. You're done. Your Achilles, you're done. Your career is virtually over, amongst any other sorts of things like that. And then just the shoes, just other aspects, the training. It was different. Sports science, nutrition. It's not that these things didn't have an idea and these guys were cavemen or anything like that, but they've taken it to this next level of just focusing in on some of these things to really just get past it. Bob Pettit was dominant. That white boy ball that don't count. Pettit ain't like us. All right. The problem a lot of these people have with dominance in terms of Shaq, they confuse physical dominance with individual dominance, so they conflate the two. Yes, absolutely. Just because Shaq was a big bully and got away with every offensive foul in the world doesn't mean that he was individually dominant as accounted for by the NBA. Yes, he won scoring titles, and that's great. He was dominant in his own right, but when you compare it to other guys like Bob Pettit and others, he had the great finals run. He had a great finals run, but that's 1 year. I'm taking for dominance over a career and putting it on average, and that's how I make the idea of peak. When you go and when your whole career is high, then in comparison to somebody like LeBron James or Shaq, where they have a lot of down years, this is what I'm talking about, the average height of the peak, because that's on average your career. How high were you? Were you just on top of the league the entire time? The guys I'm talking about were. All right. Joel Embiid is a higher peak than anyone that crossed the screen, if we're being honest. I wish, as an NBA or a 76ers fan. That's true, basketball historian, as well as the training medicinal comes improvements since then. Yep. Will Bob Pettit and George Mikan couldn't get away with lowering their shoulder and pulled theirs. Exactly, in respect to Shaq. And even with and it's very much talked about with Will Chamberlain not being able to do those things. Just running through these because I want SGA to come up here and give his opinion. If Will, Bob Pettit and George Mikan bulldozed their way to the basket in their day, they would be called for offensive fouls. Absolutely. SGA Sports Talk, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Great. Did you have a comment or question or what did you talk about?
So I want to say, so Steph Curry was part of the 75th anniversary team. All the people that, if you look at all the people all the people who made it on the 75th anniversary team, there's a lot of great names out there on the team on that squad. You got Allen Iverson on that squad. You got Kevin Durant on that squad. You got Wemby on that squad. What are your thoughts on all the people on the 75th anniversary team? All the people that made it. I know it's a massive honor to be on to wear that blue that dark blue blazer and be recognized by everybody.
Yeah, I think the 75th anniversary team I don't. Yeah, I don't think Wemby. I don't think Wemby was on the 75th anniversary team, but that's besides the point. I think it's a great honor to reach that, and I think that often describes your dominance in one capacity or the other, but ultimately your impact on the game. And I think dominance is one of those things. Is talking about the impact on the game, particularly on the court. Now, the top 75 players are all pretty much strictly more so about their impact on the game versus other things to get into the Hall of Fame. But but to talk about the dominance aspect of it, all of those players were dominant in one way or another. So even the guys like Sam Jones, or Casey Jones, or a lot of the teammates of Bill Russell that people say, oh, these guys were Hall of Famers. The reason why they're Hall of Famers is because they won, 7, 8. It depends on who the player is, but they won a lot of championships together alongside Bill Russell. And why I agree that they should be on the top 75 list or top 50 list is because that team was so dominant and they were part of that team. And they might not have the individual dominance, but being able to be on that same team and be recognized, I think, is massively important. And most of those guys, in some capacity, won or had garnered some All-Star appearances, sometimes a couple All-NBA appearances. And I'm kind of ranting on the Celtics thing.
So
but
it was really cool. Like when I watched that when I watched the 75th anniversary team, I know they got unveiled last year on TV before and they had all these players, and it was amazing to see all these legends on the team, like Bill Russell was on there, and Charles Barkley was on there. It's so cool to see all these legends being recognized, because some people don't follow basketball that much to recognize the legends that played in the game. Like I said, Barkley and Russell and Bob Pettit and Bob Cousy, all these players. Some people don't follow basketball that in depth, so they don't really know about the legends. Like not they're all about Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. They don't care about all these players. So that's just like they need to educate themselves on the history of basketball and learn about the players that played before all these great athletes.
No, I agree 100%, and that's part of why I'm doing this. This isn't really a smear campaign on LeBron James, Steph Curry, Shaq, or Nikola Jokic that I'm going to go into. It's really just to show people these
Yeah,
other
because I
all-time
really
great
like
players. Yeah.
how you're doing this, because you're educating people on not like on these players that people don't know about. Like people don't know about Bob Cousy. People don't know about Bob Pettit, because people were not around at that time when these athletes were playing. Like they were not they didn't know, they were probably weren't born around the time when they were playing, or they didn't know about. I mean, they were not, I don't know, educated about these players. I don't know if that's a good way of categorizing it.
No, I agree. I think a lot of it is sustained ignorance that people want to have. Like we had a commenter on here that says, "That's white boy ball that don't count. Bob Pettit ain't like us." This guy wants to remain ignorant to these all-time greats. Now, it doesn't like there's some I think some aspects of what he's trying to say, other than he's excusing the greatness of all these guys, is that yes, there were differences of what was the norm in the NBA back then in respect to having black players there, but black players were in the league primarily the entirety of the NBA. So there obviously there's the aspects of the normalcy growing into it. I think 1951 was the first time a black player was in the NBA, but to the point, yeah, there's some aspects of it, but people just pretend that up through 1970 that only white people played basketball. It's just kind of ridiculous. But in the NBA,
Is it just like, is the reason that you're doing the show is that you're educating people about that they did play, and some people were around the time when they were in the league. Some people are that much into basketball that they know Bob Cousy, and they know Bill Russell, they know Bob Pettit. So it's really good that you're doing this because you're educating people on on the history of these athletes. And many athletes have to go through trials and tribulations. Like even black players have to go through racism, all these things they have to go through. It's tough in their career. Maybe they had some story in their career that really hindered everything, and now they really want to put that aside and just focus on what they love, and forget about all the political sides of it, all the racism side of it, everything, and kind of leave that aside and just play basketball and don't worry about what happened because that happens with all these athletes. They're going through all these their problems in life. They're going through stuff and just they got to get over it.
Yeah, everyone's got their trials and tribulations, and especially back during the civil rights and pre-civil rights movement with a lot of these guys. I mean, some of the Bill Russell stories are horrendous, where people broke in his house and put poop in his bed and all that kind of stuff. Like it's ridiculous, and that was all and that's all truly based on the politics and racism of Boston and other areas during that time. And it's a shame that those things happen. I think, and it is part of the story of Bill Russell for some of the things that he's had to overcome. But like in contrast, it doesn't mean that just because the United States there was a lot of racist pockets and racist things that were happening, it doesn't mean that the other, like the white players in the NBA weren't great at their also. I'm just saying, like in contrast to the white boy basketball comment or whatever the realist guy said.
Because yeah, some people they make that comment. Some people make an ignorant comment saying that white players cannot play as good as black players. That's not true. Like it's just like I don't understand what this thing is. Like people make this assumption that just because you're white, you can't be as good as a black player in the NBA. White players can be as good as a black player. Allen Iverson, that's something that I don't get in the NBA. That people make assumptions on things that they don't know anything about, and then they make like a assumption and like, what are you trying to say? Like, are you trying to make a point here? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, there's really, I think, with not to really spend too much time on the race thing, but even in today's NBA, where people say, "Oh, well," when people try to attack white players of the 50s and 60s or 40s, there's a real argument that the best players in the NBA are white right now, with Jokic and Luka, and then you got Cooper. And again, this is just kind of follow up on your point, and even with Cooper Flag, I saw a video by Scap Attack saying he's the first rookie. I don't remember if it was ever or since a certain time to have 5 30-point games, have a 5 30-point game streak. And then if you compare his stats of what he's got to LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony, like you can like Will Chamberlain was greater, but I'm not sure what his scoring was during that time, if he had a streak that long in respect to the scoring. But you got all these white players that are coming into the league that are great. Like to your point, I think it really depends on the individual and the work ethic that they put into it. I think typically, again, this is a stereotype and just really a generalization, a generalized statement. It seems like a lot more black players take basketball more seriously than white players typically. At least in modern day times, and it's in respect to trying to go pro. But
to me, that doesn't make any. To me, like when people say that, it doesn't make any sense because when you go to like when you go to the community park, and people are playing street ball, like it's 50% white and 50% black. Like if you have a team, you're gonna like it's 50-50. It's like you have 50% black players and 50% white, like playing when you play street ball. So I kind of get how. I mean, would you say that basketball is dominated by white players or black players, or it's kind of like 50-50, like it's being dominated by kind of like half of each?
But I think it's how you want to break it down mathematically. Like if you look at, because there's more white people in total in the United States, so you could argue that, and I don't know the actual statistics behind this, but you can argue that maybe more white players play, but I think per capita, I think more black players play.
Like if you were
Um,
if you were to go to a community park and you were to go on a street ball court, what would you see more black players on the court? Would you see more white players on the court? Like what would if you went yourself and you walked on the court and saw a game, would you see like more black players on the court, or would you see more white players on the court? Like
Well, I live in
what would
Hawaii,
you?
so I'll see a bunch of Samoan, Polynesian guys. But the aspect of, I think it really depends. Like to give more context to what I'm saying, I really think it depends on where you are in your neighborhood. But um, I think white people typically play casual basketball less than black people. Um, like per capita, like not
Like,
like there might be more because there's more white people in the United States, but I think per capita, I think black people play casual basketball more.
I mean, when you say like when in terms of when it comes to in terms of being competitive, would you say that both like both of them are equally competitive? Like I know white players can be as competitive as black players, and black players can be as competitive as white players. Like you know how they play, their style of game, how they play.
Yeah, yeah. So absolutely, I'm not saying white people or white players are worse than black players. I think, and again, this is stereotypical. This isn't across the board, but I think most players in the NBA um, are more picked for their athleticism versus their skill set. I think we're really talking like a really kind of complicated thing where it's like, why do people want to get into the NBA? What does the NBA look for? And who's actually a better basketball player? I think it's really a nuanced
In my
conversation.
opinion, I think the whole NBA. In my opinion, the whole NBA is like a popularity contest because they're trying to like get like the best players, and some players make it to the NBA and some players get cut. I'm like that is something that is very that befuddles me because like why you picking players that you want? Like some people, some like the NBA says we don't want these players to make it to the NBA, so we're gonna cut these players so they won't make it to the team. And some players make it on the team, so I'm like that. You know, some in a contrast, it is kind of like a popularity contest, really, because some players think that they don't have the skills and qualities to make it to the NBA, so they go to the G League, which is like the minor league team, and then they play in the G League, which is like they prove themselves in the G League and prove to the coaches that they can be promoted up to the to the like the professional leagues. So that doesn't. So I just don't understand why they're picking certain players that they think that can make it, and if certain players don't have the build or don't have the athleticism to make it to the NBA, they're gonna cut them. They're gonna say these players are not qualified to make it up to the NBA, and they don't think that they can play on a at a professional level.
Yeah, like here's an example. One guy that I think I really much was a fan of, but he didn't make the NBA and he's doing pretty good now. He was undrafted. He ended up getting signed by the 76ers, but TJ McConnell. Like TJ McConnell was not drafted. He had to work his way to get on the team for the 76ers. And but he was a great college player, played all 4 years, came into the game knowing how to play, but he wasn't picked up because he was, it didn't have the quote unquote potential. Because I think a lot of NBA teams think, oh well, this guy has a 40-inch vertical,
It's
and
kind of
then
like if you ever like go to high school, like all these athletes go to high school and they go to high school and go directly from high school to college and play college for college ball. So it's just like in high school. Like, for example, if you're trying out for your football team or your baseball team in high school, and then they don't think that you have the qualifications to make it onto the team, and they don't think that you can be a good player on the team. They won't take you, so you get cut. So most of the high school athletes who try and make it onto their team, they get cut from their team because they, you know, the coach doesn't think that you're gonna be fit on our squad. Like, because he doesn't think you're the right fit. You're the right fit. So, because I tried out for my high school baseball team, and I got cut because they I don't know if they didn't want me, or they don't think I was the right fit for their team. So, that's what happens with all these athletes. They get really dejected when they get cut from the team, and they don't make the team, and they're all like very, very heartbroken because they didn't
I
make
think
the
that
team.
I do think that is part of it. What do you think about this that Basketball Historian wrote? He said uh, it's funny they make of guys like Bird, Jerry West, and Bob Cousy, but they're promoting Jokic as the greatest center ever. I think he's saying make fun of guys. What do you think about that in respect to the modern day players, um, and the modern day media? How they'll go and just ignore guys like Bird, West, and Cousy, but now
For
Jokic
me,
is the greatest
for
center.
me, I kind of think that's kind of screwed up, really, to make that comment. I kind of don't agree with it. Like I agree 50%. I agree with that comment, and 50% I don't. But see, this is a problem with people in the chat. People want to be like they know what they're talking about, and then people are gonna post some kind of disgraceful comment like that, and then it's gonna spark a lot of reactions from everybody, because everybody's gonna be like, "Why would you say that? Do you know what you're talking about? Do you really know anything about basketball?" Because somebody who knows about basketball would not say anything like that. I mean, like, I wouldn't even say that for myself. If I know basketball so much, I wouldn't even post anything like that. So I would not say that, because if I said that in the chat and I somebody saw that comment, I would receive a lot of flack for that comment. It would not look really good on my side. Realizing that I'm such a big sports guy, I know everything about all the different sports. If I said that, I would get a lot of negative reactions from other people in the chat. People would come after me and say, "Why would you say that? Do you know basketball?" So some people just don't know the sport, and then they're just trying to be all smart and everything and put in the chat, and they just I don't know what those people are trying to prove to themselves that they
Yeah, I
know.
think it,
Because some people don't know basketball, then they try and be all smart and but make a comment that's unrelated to anything and the comment is just completely, you know, I don't like those what those people do. It's just,
I
I
think he
mean,
was
if
talking
somebody
about.
knows about basketball, they would not say that in the chat. They would not have any balls to say that in the chat. They would just kind of stay away from that. Even posting that in the chat would kind of be a red flag.
Yeah, I think he was just talking about generic media where you got guys like JJ Redick just being dismissive of guys like Kuzi, calling
See,
guys during that time bummers.
this is why I really like that you're talking about Bob Pettit and Bob Cousy and all these on Bill Russell and all these other players. So I really like that you're showing love to all these players, because you're showing that these players did play, and they do matter. Like they're great players. So you're kind of showing a lot of light to these players. So that's a really good thing that you're doing, because a lot of people don't know about these players. And if you tell people about it and you educate people about these and give the history of which teams they played for and all that things, then they would know about these players, and they would be educated on it. So that's really good that you're doing that, because nobody knows about these players. People think they're random players, but they're not random players at all. They actually played for great organizations.
Absolutely. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, or
Um, so like if you're talking about sports, I would really love and just to talk um about Tim Duncan. Um, so Steph Curry is um he's about to surpass Duncan on the all-time scoring list. Um, I think that's a big accomplishment and a big milestone if that happens because I mean Tim Duncan was one of the greatest Spurs on the Spurs. I mean his career was so extensive. You know, he was loved by all the fans. Um, so yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts on Tim Duncan? Like, how do you think his career? How extensive do you think his career was? And you know, I know he was very well loved by the fans. You know, when he was here in San Antonio.
yeah, I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan. So for my life as a child, my favorite player was Michael Jordan. As a teenager, going up through adulthood, my favorite player was Tim Duncan. So I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan. The totality of a career is important. I think because we're talking about peak, I think Tim Duncan was a very dominant player across all time, just less so than a lot of all-time greats. Now, Steph Curry passing him on the scoring, that's great. But again, like the totals, it's impressive because you're able to stay around and be able to accumulate these things over time. However, I think it's less important in the aspect of talking about how great of a player you were in respect to what you were
But
able
like,
to achieve.
if Stephen Curry is like on the verge of passing Duncan. I mean, that would be a really good milestone for him, because you know Steph Curry is one of the greatest players in the Warriors. I mean, he's a Bay Area icon. Everybody in the Bay Area knows him. So it's always beautiful to see when you see a Bay Area icon surpass an icon like Tim Duncan. You know, because you know he's surpassed everything. Curry has broken every you know every achievement. You know, he broke Ray Allen's 3-point record in the Garden with 54 points. Um, and then you know that was probably one of my greatest moments as being a Warriors fan. Because Ray Allen and Reggie Miller were in the building to watch Steph break both of the records. Um, so that was really nice. But that's why I like NBA. And um um maybe we should maybe you could come on my show, because um I'm looking to do collaborations with other content creators and get them onto my channel. So I'm trying to think if you want to come on, because I love to get in hold of creators, see what they're doing. If that's something you're interested in, we could try and do something, because you talk about sports, I talk about sports, so I think perfect, it will be a perfect, um, it will be a perfect thing to do. Because you talk
Yeah,
about
man.
sports on your channel, and I talk about sports on my channel, because my channel is all about sports. Like I talk about nothing else. Um, so I would love to have you on my channel if that's something you would like to consider.
Yeah, man, just shoot me an email. If it makes sense, we can make it happen. But shoot me
Because
an email. Be on
I
the
was thinking
channel.
about, I was thinking, the NBA draft is gonna be coming up, um, around April. I was thinking that uh we could um we could do a NBA draft show. We could react to the all the picks that get announced in the draft, and we could we could have people come on and give their analysis on the picks. Maybe we could um like do something like that when the NBA draft starts, and then
I'll be I'll
we
be
could.
gone I'll be gone through March through June, so I won't be back till the end of the summer. I got a business trip, if you want to call it that, for a few months. So I'm going to be in the Philippines. I won't be able to do it
Oh, so
for that one.
uh, if you can do that,
And then just shoot me an email about what you want to collaborate on. I'm sure people want to
so
hear more about this stuff.
on the show, are you gonna talk about Steph Curry and all the other players, Tim Duncan and all the other current players, or are you gonna talk mix it up and talk about different players on the show?
Yeah, I'm about to talk about Tim Duncan, about why he had a greater peak than Shaq, and then somebody else, and then I'm going to talk about the guys who had a greater peak than Steph Curry next.
So are you're gonna bring up Steph Curry on here?
I am, about how people had a greater peak than him. Yeah.
Oh, so so are you gonna are you gonna pull him up on the show, or are you gonna like, is he not gonna be part like discussed as part of the players that you're talking about?
No, he is. He is. I'm going to say other people are greater than him, because the show's about these players are greater than your favorite players, and I'm focusing the favorite players on current players.
Is it fine if I could stay on, or do you want to carry on with the show? I mean, it's really up to whatever you feel like you want to do.
Casual Hoop said, "Welcome."
So
Howdy.
can I?
I'll
so
let
can
him
I stay?
finish and then I'll start.
So can I stay on the panel if that's fine with you? I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
I'll stay
That's what
on.
Casual Hoop said.
Okay. So I'll let you finish on the Duncan point, but I'll see what you have to say. But I'm not sure if I agree with Duncan, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right, I'll go through my thing. So Tim Duncan is why Tim Duncan has a higher peak, it was greater than Shaq over this, is because when you look at the totality of their careers, Tim Duncan was a 15-time All-Star. He was a 15-time All-NBA player, 3 times Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, 5-time champion, 15-time All-Defensive player, and an All-Star MVP. Now, when you compare that to somebody like Shaq, really what puts him over the edge is that he being Shaq, did not have nearly the amount of all-defensive teams. Tim Duncan, on the sidebar, has the most all-time for total. So when you compound all these things with Tim Duncan having more MVPs, he's got one less Finals MVP, but he's got the All-NBA, the All-Defense, he's got the championships, he's got more MVPs. All of these things together, when you compound them together over a career, and still doing that over a majority of his career out of 19 years. So 15 years, he was not that it was both every time, but he was typically an All-NBA player, an All-Defensive player, and an All-Star during those time periods. So when you talk about the dominance of the iconism, the individual statistical dominance, although he never won a statistical title, but you look at the championships on top of these separate awards, then that is what makes Tim Duncan a more dominant player, having a higher peak on average across his career. So his peak, in respect to, I might be using the wrong word, but he was better across his career throughout his entire career, more so than Shaq was. Shaq had a lot of down years in his career where he wasn't winning these awards, particularly on the trail end with the Cavaliers, some of the Suns years, the Celtics. During those times, Shaq was really not on it in respect to winning these awards. He was kind of riding it out. In comparison, Tim Duncan, throughout his career, in his rookie year, he was winning All-NBA and All-Defense, being an All-Star. And then even in the second to last year of his career, he was an All-Star, All-NBA player, and All-Defensive player. So when you look at those things holistically across his career, he consistently performed better than Shaquille O'Neal did in comparison across their career.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from on that. Like he was more consistently dominant with winning particularly the all defensive awards, because Shaq doesn't have many of those, to my understanding. Uh, I guess in terms of dominance, it's at least arguable since Shaq has like a couple scoring titles, um, maybe some field goal percentage titles, though I'm not sure. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from on Duncan. I can see why you would say that.
Well, for me, I don't account for efficiency titles because
Oh,
it's
okay.
about personally, because it's efficiency. Because you can win an efficiency title shooting 2 shots a game. It
Yeah,
has
that's
nothing
true.
to do so that's how I look at it. Is it impressive the things that he did? Shaq did win a bunch of efficiency titles while being one of the highest scorers in the league, or the highest scorer in the league at times. But the aspect of it is that I don't take that into the dominance in that capacity because I think efficiency is different than dominance. Now, like in respect to who
So
had a higher season, a season that had more to do with something, maybe Shaq, because of I think, yeah, in 2000, probably 2000 was a better year than Tim Duncan had on a best of best year.
Right, with the
so
MVP scoring title, Finals MVP. If you look at individual seasons, then you probably have to go Shaq. But if you look at it dominance over the career, then I can definitely see why you would say Duncan.
And that's what
so
I'm saying. I'm not saying a single season. Yeah.
so
Okay, I
Stephen
gotcha.
Curry. So Stephen Curry has Tim Duncan has 26,496 points on the all-time scoring list. Curry has 26,477, which means Steph Curry needs only 49 more points to surpass Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And I think he's
Okay.
gonna do it because he's been injured, he's been out for like 3 games. But I think he's going to come back after the All-Star break and he's going to score like 50 and he's going to surpass Tim Duncan. He's going to be 18th on the all-time scoring list. So I think he's going to do it because Steph Curry has the ability to revolutionize the game and he's going to do it and he's going to surpass Duncan. And then, you know, that's going to be a big deal for him. And he's going to do it because I have full faith that he's going to do it. He's going to put up like a 50-point performance and he's going to surpass him and he's going to move up the rankings.
SGA,
I
just to
don't
be
know.
clear, all these guys I'm saying are had a higher average of their peak across their career than Steph Curry. So everyone I've said so far, I'm saying is greater than Steph Curry in that capacity, and there's still more to go. Anyway, what were you saying? Casual Hoop said.
I was going to say on his point, just quickly, I don't know if he'll score 50 in one game, though he could, of course. But Curry's going to move up the scoring list by a lot.
Yeah, but like I said, Tim Duncan is at 26,496 points.
Yeah.
And Curry's
Right.
at 26,477, which means he needs exactly 49 more points to surpass the legend Tim Duncan.
Right, and he'll get it because he still has like a whole half a season left to go, and he should play until he's like 40, I would say. So he could get close to top 10, really.
That's why that's why as a Warriors fan, that's why I mean I knew Steph Curry was gonna do it, but he wasn't gonna do it in one game. He was gonna do it in two separate games. So he's gonna do it in one game, and then because I thought he was gonna get it in one game, but that wasn't happening. So he got it and he did in one game. And he's probably going to do it against the Celtics after they come back from the NBA All-Star break.
Okay.
SGA, so let's turn this into, is this guy greater than Steph Curry? Because you are loving this Steph Curry talk. Is Hakeem Olajuwon, in your opinion, had a higher career average of his greatness than Steph Curry?
I don't know a lot about Hakeem Olajuwon, but I don't know if he had a better performance than Curry, because I haven't known a lot about him. So maybe you might want to educate me on him because I wasn't born when he was playing. So maybe I might want you guys to educate me on him a little bit. I mean, I know him a lot, but I don't know if he was better than Steph Curry. I'm not really sure about that. I would have to look and do more research on that and get back to you on that point.
Okay, well, Hakeem Olajuwon was a 12-time All-Star. He played 18 years in the NBA. He was a 3-time block champion. I'm just reading the raw things here. 12. He was a 12 All-NBA first team. I believe that's more than Steph Curry. He was a 2-time Finals MVP. That's more than Steph Curry. 2-time rebounding champion. 2-time NBA champion. A 9-time All Defensive Player. A 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and an MVP. Now, with this, why across his career, things that elevate him for his dominance across his career, I think it's particularly his 1994 season, where he's famously won the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, NBA First Team, All Defense First Team, was an All Star, and then won the NBA championship as well. So I think that across that in the spectrum, because Steph Curry really has got a lot of All NBA awards, but not as much as that. He's got 11 All NBA awards. I think he's got 8. He's got 2 scoring titles. He's a 2-time All Star MVP, which is interesting, and he's a steals champion. But I think all the things that Hakeem did, I think makes him more dominant across his career, because Steph Curry now this is not to his fault for a lot of this time, but he was a little injury plagued, particularly in his 3rd season. But it was something that they continue to talk about as something they were worried about with him, is that he had bad ankles. Didn't really get out there as much early on.
So when Curry surpasses Duncan, the next 3 players that he's gonna be targeting to surpass will be Dominique Wilkins, Oscar Robertson, and then Hakeem Olajuwon, the player that you have up on the screen.
Is the total points? Is that the thing that makes him?
Yeah, total points. So
Is that what makes him more
right now
dominant?
Steph Curry is number 19. After he surpasses Duncan, he'll go to 18. So he's trying to go up to number 1. He's trying to move up all the way up to the rankings to go up to number 1. So he's trying to surpass all these players to make it all the way to number 1 on the rankings.
Gotcha. Casual Hoop said, "What's your thoughts? You think that Hakeem Olajuwon is more dominant than Shaq and Steph Curry?"
In terms of Shaq, I would say yeah. In terms of Curry, I would also agree because of all the different statistical awards that he has. Curry only has, I think he has 2 scoring titles as well, and then of course the steals title, like you said. What I find interesting is a lot of people will say Curry had the greatest regular season of all time, where he won that unanimous MVP and 73 wins with the Warriors, which, of course, it's absolutely one of the greatest seasons of all time, without a doubt. But it's pretty interesting that Hakeem can rival that with how great that season was with his 94 season, because he basically swept the board with what you could win: MVP, DPOY, and Finals MVP, champion. I mean, that's a crazy season right there. So individual season, Hakeem can rival almost anybody. Over their career, yeah, I would give Hakeem the edge over Shaq and Curry.
And one
Yeah,
of the
we're gonna.
greatest moments from Curry would be when he scored 54 at the Garden. I know that was a spectacle that people saw him do when he scored 54 at the Garden with Reggie Miller and Ray Allen in the building. That was one of the
Oh, that's
greatest
when he
moments as a
surpassed him.
Warrior fan. When he
Yeah, and the
surpassed Ray
3-pointers.
Allen
Yeah.
in 3-pointers made. That was the greatest moment ever. I mean, I'm gonna remember that moment for my whole life.
Oh, yeah, it was an amazing moment for sure. Yeah.
So, SGA, we've got 3 guys that I'm going to make claims at a higher peak on average for their career than Steph Curry. And the first one is similar to Hakeem Olajuwon, with a ridiculous individual season that really gets him over the edge and is arguably the greatest season of all time. I'm going to start off with that guy first, Willis Reed. What do you know about Willis Reed, SGA?
Like I said to you, I don't know these players because I was not born around the time that these guys are playing. So it's gonna be very hard for me to contribute and talk about this player because I wasn't born around the time when he was playing. So maybe I'll just stay on and maybe when it comes to a player that I have more like I know more about, then I'll probably speak up and say something about it. But maybe you guys know more about him, so maybe you guys can tell me a little bit more about him because these are kind of players that I mean I wasn't born when he was playing, so maybe you could kind of tell me a little bit about it because maybe I know something about him, but not that much where I can actually say something about it.
Alrighty. Well, Willis Reed had a 10-year NBA career, but the season I'm alluding to is the 1970 season. That season, he was the MVP of the year, the All-Star MVP and All-Star, All-NBA first team, was an NBA champion, and then he also was an All-NBA defense first team. Now, this time they didn't have Defensive Player of the Year. Um, However, this is also the season he famously came back in the NBA Finals after having an injury, a leg injury, and having a fantastic Finals performance. Um, if it's, I think it was game 6 of the Finals. Anyway, Casual Hoops Head might know more, might remember it more right off the top of my head.
I thought it
But
might
this,
have been Game 7, but I'm not sure.
yeah, I wanted to say game 7, but I feel like anyway. But over this guy's career, he was a 7-time All-Star, 5-time All NBA. The two MVPs that I discussed, 2-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, and the 75th anniversary team, as GSA talked about before. But that has nothing to do with his career. That's a hindsight kind of attribution to how great they were. But what are your thoughts on Willis Reed? Do you think he was more at a higher peak across his career or higher average of capability across his career than Steph Curry? Casual Hoop
Um,
said.
um, with Willis Reed, I guess I'd be a little more unsure. Similar to SGA, I'm not quite too read up on Willis Reed's career as much as like more recent guys, like 80s and 90s at least. But he certainly has an argument, no doubt, especially with all the stuff you read off. And I don't know how well he was as a shot blocker, but once Wilt was still in the league. Never mind, Wilt probably would have got those blocks titles, but yeah, I mean, he certainly has an argument.
All right, SGA. What about that season that I talked about? Do you think that was a dominant season? You think that was something that? Do you think that Steph Curry has a season at least that compares to that? Do you think it's a 2016 season? You think that was better?
I think I think Stephen Curry's 2016 season was better in my opinion. I think that was a better season for Steph Curry. I think he was better on that team with wasn't Ke- wasn't Kevin Durant and David Lee on that 2016 Warriors roster?
No, KD wasn't there in 2016. He came the
What was
next
that
year in
20 was
2017.
that Oh, so the Stephen Curry. So was Steph Curry on the 2016 roster, but not KD and Kevin Durant and David Lee?
Yeah, David Lee left like a long time ago at that point, but yeah, it was Steph Curry, Clay, and Draymond. The big three there, but they didn't get KD yet
I think
in 2016.
the 2016 Warriors team was way better. Like they had Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Steph Curry. So people say that the 2016 Warriors team was way better. Like way better. Just in my opinion, I think that was a bit better a year for the Warriors.
Alrighty. Well, I got David Robinson, somebody I claim is at a greater
Uh,
peak and
so
average.
I have a lot to say about David Robinson.
All
So
right,
I watched the movie
get
Like
it out.
Mike. So I watched the movie Like Mike with Calvin Cambridge and Lil Bow Wow. And David Robinson was in that movie. So I mean David Robinson is one of the most iconic Spurs players of all time, legendary athlete. He was dominant. Um and I think that if you compared them to Steph Curry, I think David Robinson was better than Steph Curry in terms of how great he played as an athlete.
Casual Hoop said, what's your first thoughts on this claim? You think that David Robinson uh, was greater than Steph in the way that we're talking?
In terms of dominance, well, I know he has at least one scoring title. He got that over Shaq in '94, I believe, or '95.
Yes.
I know he's got an MVP, a DPOY. I know he's got I think he's got blocks titles too. I don't know how many, and some rebounding titles. But the only, I guess the only knock you can say against David Robinson, just dominance wise against like a Curry, is he doesn't have a Finals MVP for his 2 championships, and then Curry has him doubled in championships. But I mean, me personally, I would say Curry was probably more dominant, but David Robinson's also very high up there dominance wise. And as far as single season peak, I know he had one season that was like really ridiculous as far as the statistics he put up.
Yeah. So my claim is that, again, compounding all these things together, Steph Curry really didn't have a ton of defensive teams, and that's a lot of these guys. Really, that's what they have over Steph Curry in this case, or a lot of these players that I brought up, is that they holistically, either just for the time that they had a shorter time that they were on top the entire time, for some of those 50s and 60s players that I brought up, 40s, 50s, 60s players. But then somebody like David Robinson, in comparison, he's got 8-time all defense team. I don't think Steph Curry's got any defensive teams.
Right.
So that just compounds about how great he was, because he's being considered one of the 2 top defensive players in the league for his position ish. You can argue, well, it's forward, center, maybe it could be up to 6 or 7, but the aspect of is that he's still one of the top defenders and recognized as such, and compounding them with the things that you're talking about. So, scoring title, block title, rebounding title. He's doing all of these as an all-star NBA first team, and then defensive first team or second team throughout a large part of his career, let alone winning those championships. So I think all of those things put him over Steph, because Steph, in comparison, he's only got 11-time All-NBA in his career, just to give you a comparison, over a 17-year career. So there's things that people kind of forget about with him, is that really up until the 2014 season, he was a what if. Like, can he turn into this great player? And then it really started switching gears. Particularly in that 2015 season is when he was there, but 2014 is when he became an all-star for the first time All-NBA player, and he'd already been in the league for 5 years at that time. So
when I looked
what's
at
up?
I recognized David Robinson from the Like Mike movie, which is, that's my one of my favorite sports movies. I mean, if people say I'm putting Like Mike number 1 on my list for my top 5 sports movies, I mean, I like that movie, but I remember that scene from Like Mike where Calvin Cambridge, Lil Bow Wow, who's fictional, by the way, he's not a real character, he's just in the movie. He dunks over David Robinson. In the movie Like Mike,
I've heard it. I've never seen it, but I love that
it's a
bringing
really
this
good
up.
movie, man. You should definitely watch it, man. You're gonna love it, man. It's a good movie, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, when David Robinson appeared on the screen and you brought David Robinson up, I had to talk about him, like, because when you watch Like Mike and you see him in that movie, then you got a lot of stuff to say about him, because everybody knows David Robinson. Every NBA
Yeah.
fan has somewhat of idea who David Robinson is and how was he as a player. He was an absolute amazing athlete. He was a dominant two-way center. He had defensive prowess, man. Like he had a lot of accolades under his name. You know, he was just a legend. And the whole Spurs community probably on like just looks up to him with with awe, like how great of an athlete he was.
The aircraft carrier says Steph is not a defensive player. Yes, but I'm talking holistically as a dominant player, and that's half of the game is defense ish.
Right.
However you want to break it up. So, and then he
So
said that's like
when
saying Ben Wallace doesn't have a 3-point contest for championships. Yes,
so
I
when the
mean
aircraft
that
carrier
is.
is saying
If you
that's
give me a second, SCA, please.
oh,
So the aircraft carrier also says Ben Wallace doesn't have any 3-point contest championships. It's not the same thing. A 3-point contest is not as that's an exhibition. 11
Right.
and 17 years is bad. No, it's not bad. I'm just saying that in comparison, that it's when you're comparing these guys that there's the difference here. So that's all. What's up, SJ?
so the comment that the aircraft carrier was saying that Steph is not a defensive player. He is a defensive player, man. He plays defense, man. Like he steals the ball. He gets transitions. He makes up spaces for other people. So I think Steph Curry is an offensive and defensive player. I don't agree with the comment from aircraft carrier, man. But you know, people have their opinions. I mean, I'm not gonna really go after somebody just because one comment they made doesn't agree with everybody. But I mean, he's a both an offensive and defensive player. So you know, aircraft carrier has his he has his opinion, what he thinks about that. You know, but yeah, I'm not gonna go over that. But uh, Dwight Howard. Yeah, I have a lot to say about Dwight Howard. You know, he played on the Magic. Uh, he was in Dancing with the Stars. And I think he does a really really great Charles Barkley impression, man. Like if you've seen this guy do a Charles Barkley impression, he does the best Charles Barkley impression I've ever seen in my life. He's so funny, man. This guy's a goofball, man. He wants to do stuff. He wants to make people laugh. But you got to go on YouTube and watch that Charles Barkley impression from Dwight Howard, man. It's absolutely iconic, man. You got to go and watch it, man. Tell me what you think about it.
Is Dwight Howard, did he have a greater career average for his peak than Steph Curry?
I think Dwight Howard and Steph Curry had about the way they played the same way. I think.
All right, Casual Hoop said, what do you think about this claim?
Oh, I'll say what I was going to say for Steph. Like, he's not a great defensive player, obviously, but he's at least decent and at least gives effort out there, which is part of defense. Just giving the effort. He's a good, at least team defender, but individually, but he's not like a traffic cone or anything. Now, I'll say with Dwight Howard, he's obviously an elite defensive player. He three-peated with DPY, is the only player to do it. But his offensive game was kind of lacking, I'd say, because I think his peak points is like 20 points a game or something like that. But he also has rebounding titles and whatnot, so that certainly helps him. And I'll say with Curry, him only having 4 first-team All-NBAs, that does kind of hold him back some, I'll say, for dominance. But I'll see what case you make for Dwight Howard.
Yeah, so with Dwight Howard, he's really got a lot of gaps, particularly from 2015 to 2022. He more or less didn't get anything other than winning the championship in the bubble season.
Right.
But why this is important is because he really that 6-7 year stretch in between 2007-ish to 2013-ish, he really, and even if you want to put it more than that, to 2008 to 2012, he was winning all NBA first team, all NBA or all defense first team. He won those 3 defensive player in the years, like you were talking about, and then in tandem with that, he was winning these rebounding titles. He won 5 rebounding titles in his career during this general period of time and 2 blocks titles. So putting that all together, when you're winning two statistical title awards every year. I forget the number. I think it's something like 23 or 28 players have ever won more than one statistical title in the same season. So I think Dwight Howard is one of 3 or 4 players that ever won more than one once. So I think it's him, Chris Paul, Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and there might be a couple other guys. I haven't looked at it in a while, but his peak really in this conversation drags him over the rest of his career. Like he did so much during those few seasons that it drags him even to be greater than Steph Curry for the holistic average of his career. Because you look at Steph Curry, like you said, he's not winning all NBA first teams. He's winning a couple statistical titles. He's winning the championships. He's got a couple MVPs. He's only got one Finals MVP. So when you put these things all together, they don't really compound. Dwight Howard, when he was playing and he was on top, all of that compounds so large because he's doing almost everything you can do outside of during that time win the championship and the Finals MVP and a couple of statistical titles in the MVP. But he did so much more as an individual player during that run. I think it drags him across it more so than Steph Curry.
So Dwight Howard was snubbed from the 2021 NBA 75th anniversary team. I mean, to
I'd
me,
agree.
that's a disgrace. That's a slap in the face, man, to one of the greatest players in the league. Not having him in the excluding him from the NBA 75th anniversary team. Dude, that's like wrong every level, man. Like every level, that's 100% wrong. Like you excluding him from with all these great players, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and Giannis and Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and all these great players, and including him from the 75th anniversary team is wrong in every level, man. Like that's unacceptable. Joel Embiid not making the All-Star game. That's how disgraceful that is to not have Dwight Howard get excluded from the 75th anniversary team. I mean, it's wrong in every level. It's just not. It's unacceptable. Dwight Howard is one of the greatest centers in the NBA right now, and you're excluding him from the 75th anniversary team. Like, what does the NBA think they're doing? This is why I think the NBA is a popularity contest, because you're excluding players that should make it to the 75th anniversary team, and then you exclude them and they don't make it on the team. I'm like, NBA should be they should investigate this, and the NBA should investigate this if this happens again.
I'll say this: he absolutely should have made it over Damian
And it was
Lillard,
absolutely
without a doubt.
disgraceful. Why would you exclude this player from? Why would you exclude him from not making the 75th anniversary team, which is a big, it's an honor to be recognized on all these wonderful athletes who have played the great sport that we know and that everybody knows and loves.
And I agree with Aircraft Carrier on that one comment. I mean, he was terrifically dominant as a defensive center. I mean, especially in the modern era, like, you know.
Who did you say he should have gotten a spot over?
Definitely over Damian Lillard and arguably even Anthony Davis.
And when I went online to look at the 75th anniversary team players who made it on the team, Dwight Howard was not even mentioned in that list. Right. He was not mentioned. They didn't even mention the guy's name. I was looking in a alphabetical order, looking in H for Howard, wasn't even mentioned. Are you kidding me, NBA? Are you out of your mind? I think the NBA has gone insane. They're losing their minds right now. They're going absolutely crazy, man. They're making all these, like, they're not including Dwight Howard as part of the 75th anniversary team. Like, NBA has just lost their minds right now. I don't think I want to be a fan of the NBA anymore after what they did to Dwight Howard.
Hey, I mean, they're definitely doing a lot of things that seem crazy.
No, but the NBA is screwing up this whole thing, right? It's probably the most screwed up organization in the whole world.
Yeah, NBA. I mean, well, look at how they do the All-Star game. We're on our 5th different format in the past 5 years. Like, what even is that? Like, I don't even know what the All-Star game is anymore.
The All-Star game should be East versus West format, right?
What is this now? Actually, it's USA versus World. I think this year.
I don't like this format. I actually like the East versus West format better.
Yeah, they should have kept it as that. What was
because I
wrong with
think
it?
East versus West is way better than All Star Game. Last
Yeah.
year, I don't know what they're doing. I think the team Charles and team Candace Parker, that was so screwed up. I don't know why they did that
Mhm.
format last year.
Yeah.
They did the whole team Kenny, team Charles, team Candace Parker, team
Shaq. Yeah.
team Shaq. I don't know. I didn't like that format at all. I think that was really screwed up because
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're trying to experiment with different stuff. Maybe that's why they're not doing East versus West this year. Maybe they're kind of going in a different route.
Yeah. I don't know. They're
But
just
I don't
a mess
disagree,
of a
man.
league.
I'm still gonna watch the All Star game, even if it's USA versus World. I'm still gonna watch it. I don't care if Steph Curry's in it. I'm watching it every day.
I'll
So you
say
got
like the NBA.
I'm
This is the last thing I'll say, but like even with the anniversary teams, look what they did with the original 50 team. They put Shaq in, who had like no merit being in the 50th team. They was basically doing it because he'll be great one day. Essentially, that's all I'll say.
what do you guys think about Jokic? Do you think he's one of the most had one of the most dominant careers
I'll say
in the
this.
of all time?
I'll say this. I know you're going to come from a defensive aspect, probably with some of these players, which is absolutely fair, especially for a center, where that matters probably the most for all the positions. But 37 players is interesting. That's all I'll say. But we'll see the three guys you bring up, and yeah.
What about you, GSA or SGA? What do you think about Jokic? All right, nothing heard. All right,
I
let's
think
go.
Jokic
Oh,
is a dominant player. I mean, like he drops a triple every time the Warriors play the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is dropping a triple double every time. Like I don't know how many triple doubles this man has dropped.
He actually just passed Oscar Robertson for the second most triple doubles all time.
I mean, like USA versus World is good because um but yeah, but I like the format, but I'm still gonna watch the All Star game. Like I'm still gonna watch all the festivities. I'm still gonna watch like the 3-point contest, the skills challenge, the
Sure.
slam dunk contest. I'm still gonna watch all of those. Even though the format is not what we expected, I'm still gonna tune into the All Star game and I'm gonna see how well it does this year.
do you guys agree with this statement? The aircraft carrier is a top 15 all-time player.
I was going to say, I don't know if quite top 15, but for me, if he's not top 15, to me, he's probably like at least 16, 17, 18, something like that. All I'll say is the way I measure greatness, just very quickly, part of it is like the competition you face en route to a championship. And the fact that Jokic didn't face a single 50-win team on that championship run, and the highest seed he faced was like a 4 seed, then he faced like 2 7 seeds and an 8 seed in the finals. I don't think people talk enough about how unimpressive the competition is. I think he's the only player that never faced a 50-win team en route to a championship. But still, his dominance and all that puts him at least top 20, in my opinion.
All right. What about you, SGA?
So what were we talking about?
Do you think Jokic is a top 15 player?
Nikola Jokic is a top 15 player.
All time, excuse me.
I think Nikola Jokic is a top 15 all-time player because he just when he's on the court he just puts a show every single night. He's fun to watch. But when it's against the Warriors, I don't like it when he drops triple doubles because
Oh, yeah.
like he just wants to prove that he's the best player in the world, and he just on the court he puts everything out on there, and then he shows it, and that's what I appreciate how much he really wants to win a championship, and he really wants to go out there and play.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go into the first guy that I claim has a more dominant career on average than Jokic, and that's Jerry West, the logo.
Mm.
Jerry West He played 14 years in the NBA. Every year he played in the NBA, he was an all-star. He was an assist champion in 1972. He was a 12-time All-NBA player. During that time, only 2 times was he not first team, so 10-team, first team. Finals MVP, the only Finals MVP to add some eminence to it, or additional eminence to it, that did not win the Finals. Additionally, he was a scoring champion in 1970, won the championship in 1972, and is a 5-time, or he was All-Star MVP in 1972, and was a 5-time All-Defensive Player. And that award came out in 1969.
Right.
So from 1969 to 1973, he retired in 74. He was 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, or excuse me, 4-time Defensive First Team, and then 1 time he was Defensive Second Team. So the only time that since the award went out that he didn't get the Defensive All Team was 1974, the year that he retired. So in tandem with all of these things, this is not even including steals and blocks titles. And when they were recorded in 1974 the first time, he had averaged 2.6 steals
Right.
per game the last year that he played. So still a fantastic number for the year that you retired out of at the age of 35.
Yep.
He very much will have won a bunch of those, but let's not get into what ifs.
Sure.
Him winning all these all-stars, all NBAs, all defensive first teams, especially at the back end of his career, which I think adds a little bit more punch to it, then winning the championship in 1972. I think all of these things put him over Nikola Jokic, because Nikola Jokic, although he's a 3-time MVP, he's won the NBA championship once. And in comparison, like you had mentioned, Casual Hoops Head, he has no defensive teams that I'm aware of.
Right.
He's only a 7-time All-NBA player, 7-time All-Star, and he's been in the league for 11 years. So he's gonna, yeah.
So Jerry West was the original face of the NBA logo. I think
He is the NBA
I think Steph Curry should be the new face of the NBA logo.
Why is
That would
that?
be something. That would be something to see. If you see Steph Curry on the face of the NBA logo, that'll be something to witness.
I'll say it would
All
sort of
Warrior fans
make
would love to
sense.
see him on the logo because he's breaking records right now. So I think he should be the face of the new logo, man. They should make a petition and get people to sign and get like a couple of a lot of signatures, and then have him make him the face of the NBA logo.
You should start it, man. If you
And
want
then we
it, you
should get
start it.
petition like at least 500 signatures to make Steph Curry the new face of the NBA logo.
Well, I'd say there probably is a petition somewhere. I just don't know where you would find it. But it would make sense with how he's revolutionized the league, to be honest. It would make sense. But
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy for it as a consideration to make him the logo. I think
right.
it's the impact that he's had, the shooting, him arguably being the face of the league for some time. It's been really him
Right.
and LeBron for a large part of the 2010s and the 2020s. So I don't think it's crazy. I mean, do I agree with it? No, but I think
Right.
there's merit to it. What do you guys think about my argument?
But there's 2 players because some people are saying Stephen Curry should be the face of the logo. Other people say LeBron James should be the face of the NBA logo.
Yep. I'll say with Jerry West, kind of lost my train of thought, I'm not going to lie. Let's see. It is impressive how many finals he made straight, even though he did lose them. Like, what did he make? Like 9 straight finals, something like that. As arguably the lead player, you could argue between him and Elgin Baylor, but arguably he was the lead player for some of those times, particularly towards the end of the 60s before they got Wilt, and even when they had Wilt at times, like 69, of course. Let's see what else. His defensive impact. Not having the defensive award or, team for all that time throughout his prime, not to get into what ifs, like you said, but, that just shows how great of a player he was. He's still making all defensive teams at the end of his career. I have him just greatness wise. I have him above Jokic, and with dominance wise, I would agree. I mean, think about it. I don't know how many players have a scoring title and an assist title. I would say it's probably very few players. I know LeBron has it, and Tiny Archibald actually did it the same season. But that might be the list, to be honest, as far as I know, or
Wilt
maybe Bob
Chamberlain.
Cousy. But yeah,
Wilt Cha-
that's
Wilt-
about what I would say.
yeah,
Oh, Wilt Chamberlain too. Right. I forgot.
yeah, but yeah, I think that is the extensive list of players that have one of each. I think you're right. Now, what I'm interested in seeing, and I think that Jokic, if I'm not mistaken, can miss one more game or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But I know he's been in the running to match Wilt Chamberlain's feat of winning a rebounding title and an assist title in the same season.
Yep. He's so far he's still leading the league in both, as far as I'm aware. And but like you said, if he misses one more game, I don't think they'll even give him considerations for the accolade titles, let alone MVP, which he was favored for a little while. But we'll see how it goes. But if he's able to play that, not miss that extra game, this season is an all-time peak season as far as like you said, leading. He'll likely lead both of those titles and maybe win MVP. And we'll see what he does in the playoffs. But yeah, this has the makings of a very great all-time season, but we'll see.
Yeah, I understand why the NBA implemented the above 65 game rule for winning, because people are, or at least allegedly, milking some of their injury times, and the teams are milking the some of the aspects of getting these guys awards by sending them on the bench, the load management per se. However, for the guys that are really injured, it's like, I don't know, 65 games. It's not a lot. It's not like it's a ton of games to make, but if you actually get injured and you can't play, that sucks. Like with Wembanyama should have a bunch more stuff, particularly the blocks titles and other things to his name, but he doesn't because he's been injured. So
yeah. And I'll say this as a Cavs fan. Evan Mobley won the DPOY last year. If Wemby made enough games, that was his defensive player of the year all the way.
So the top 6 candidates who are going to be the face of new logo: number 1, LeBron James; number 2, Michael Jordan; number 3, Allen Iverson; number 4, Kobe Bryant; number 5, Stephen Curry; number 6, Victor Wembanyama.
Wemby already. That's probably the list, I would say. Yeah. Yep.
I love Wemby, man. He's
I do like him. Yeah.
What do you like about Wemby's style of play, man? Do you like how he plays on the court, man? Like, he's tall, man. Like, he could dunk the ball. Like, he could create open spaces for other players to get an open shot up.
Well, the first thing I like about him is that he shaved his head bald, and I'm bald, so but outside of that, no, really, he's got this defensive tenacity, and I think a lot of it has to do with his physical talents, or his, just how he was born being tall and gangly, or however you want to put it. But on top of it, he can do so much on offense, and I think he should shoot less outside on the perimeter, but he's got the capability to do so respectably. But I love when he goes to the hole. And he'll be aggressive towards it, even though he's skinny. Like, he'll try to dunk on people, and he's not afraid to do that. And he talked about trying to incorporate the sky hook and all of that. I would love to see something like that. Rex has his opinions about the feasibility of the sky hook in today's NBA. As a never been a professional player, I think they could probably work still, but he says he thinks it can't happen due to speed and some of the zone or the ousting of the illegal defense, but I think it still could be effective. Really, just in general, hook shot. It doesn't have to be the sky hook, but just a player that can hit hook shots.
Right.
Yeah, the greatest moment I would
think it would still be able to work in this today's league. Obviously, maybe not as well as like Kareem's hook shot back in the day because of all that you mentioned, how the teams run just their offense and their defensive. But I mean, Wemby is a really likable player because I mean he's one of the few guys back to the All Star game. He's one of the few guys that actually tries in the All Star game when we saw him last year, and he kind of just does everything on the court. I mean, he can score very well with great variety. Like you said, he can take it to the hole, and he has such length that he can just kind of like Space Jam dunk over people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then on the other end, he's blocking and altering so many different shots. He's like doubling the next player in blocks average, I'm pretty sure. The only thing I'll say, like, he leaves a little bit to be desired with the rebounding, particularly offensive rebounding for his height. But other than that, tremendous player with tremendous potential.
Yeah, the greatest
part-
moment I would have of Steph Curry would be when he shot that over Wemby.
Yeah, that was a
When
nice.
they played in Paris in the Summer Olympics, when they played and Curry shot that ball over Wemby, that was beautiful, man. Like people are
Yeah.
making that a screensaver. When Curry shot that ball and it arced over Wemby and he made the shot, like the ball goes over Wemby and he's trying to guard Curry and he shoots the ball over Wemby.
Yeah, that was a great
Dude,
shot.
that's gonna be iconic, man. Everybody's making that as a wallpaper saver.
Yeah.
I think
Like
Wemby
on their
was the
phone, man,
offense-
like like
Right.
as a
Yeah.
wallpaper.
Right.
They're making that as like as their wallpaper because that's an iconic moment. Curry shooting the ball over Wemby. Wemby's holding the ball up in the air, is trying to guard Curry. Curry can't be guarded. He just shoots the ball over Wemby, and then he makes it. And Wemby's like, "Are you kidding me?" He was like stunned, man. He's like, "I never seen that in my life before.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yeah.
Curry just arc a three like that. That's what Curry does. He can arc. He can arc the shot. He can shoot the ball in the arc, go
Yeah.
over the player and drain it. That's how crazy that guy is.
Right.
I
That
think
guy can
I think
shoot the
we're-
ball from all over the court, man. He can shoot that from the logo, shoot from the corner, he can shoot that from everywhere, man. That guy's a revolutionary player, man. I mean, he's gonna change the league.
I think Wemby with his offensive rebounding, I think that he'll start from the perimeter. It's not that he never goes down and stays at the low block. It's not that he never does that, but I think the double team attached to that when he gets down there, because I've seen
Oh.
some highlights where he's getting triple teamed, especially
yeah.
on crunch time situations where. So I think a lot of that is that he is so good.
Right.
And on a sidebar makes guys like Moses Malone or more so Moses Malone or Wilt Chamberlain or guys like that it's impressive that they're able to get all this all these offensive rebounds
Right.
where they're prolific scorers on top of it.
Right.
But Kevin Garnett, I think Kevin Garnett had a higher peak throughout his career than Nikola Jokic. What are your thoughts, guys? SGA, what about you first? All right, Casual, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say I would agree. I mean, he's got an MVP. He's got a Defensive Player of the Year, which Jokic doesn't have, of course. He made 9 first-team defensive selections, which is tied with Michael Jordan, Gary Payton, and I believe Kobe Bryant. He had 4 straight rebounding titles, which is really impressive. Especially all the prolific rebounders he was going against in that era. And then he has the championship, and arguably he maybe should have won Finals MVP, but that's a what if. Can't count that. But if he didn't get another what if, can't really count it. But he also got injured in 2009. It would have been nice to see if he could have went back to back with that team. But I'd say his championship run was. I'd say he probably faced tougher competitions with that championship, at least for the team he faced in the finals, Kobe's Lakers and whatnot. But I would agree that KG's dominance, I would say, surpasses Jokic's. But Jokic is close, of course, but yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, for all the things that you're saying, and you kind of front loaded it with this, is that a lot of these guys that I'm talking about also were great defensive players or had the individual statistical dominance. So,
Right.
um, it's I just don't think you can ignore that stuff, especially when
Right.
you look at the dominance holistically of a player across all time. If they're being acknowledged as the best defensive players in the game, it's not to say that Jokic is a bad defender. People like to say that. I think that's a little overinflated. Like, do I think
Yeah.
he can? Do I think he can lock people up like a guard or some of these or like KG? No, I don't think as a one-on-one defender he's got that
Right.
capability, but at the same time, it doesn't mean he's a bad defender because he doesn't play like that. He plays
Right.
to his capabilities, and he's a good defensive player for what he can do. Uh,
Right. Similar with Steph, like he actually, gives the effort, and for a center, he gets a decent amount of steals, but he at least gives effort. But of course, some people will try to reference the like advanced defensive statistics, and that says Jokic is like what a top 2 defender in the league, and of course we can agree that's bullshit. But like, it's just funny that people try to use those statistics and just say, "Oh yeah, well he must be a terrific defender." Like, no, those stats are flawed.
So
yeah,
Stephen Curry is far more way better than Kevin Garnett.
we agree. We agree
Because
with that.
he's
We've
sur-
passed Steph Curry. We agree with. I agree with that. Let me put it that way. This is past Steph Curry. Steph Curry is. I agree. He has. He had a higher peak than Kevin Garnett.
and it said that he surpassed him on the all-time scoring list in 21st place back in December of 2025.
Yep.
So he's
Cool.
way better. So Steph Curry is way better than Kevin Garnett. If anybody says Kevin Garnett is way better than Steph Curry, they don't know basketball. They're just saying that because they want to show, make a point, but they don't know what they're saying. So if anybody says Kevin Garnett's better than Steph Curry, those people like don't focus on those people. They're just trying to hate on Stephen Curry and saying that KG's better.
Sure, but I mean, well, like you said earlier, it's just a difference of opinions and whatnot. But with what we're saying like dominance, not necessarily who's greater, just who's like more dominant and whatnot. Because I
Yeah.
have Steph Curry over KG, but I do think KG, for what it's worth, well, he at least has an argument with Steph Curry. But on terms of Jokic, you know, uh, you know, same with Jokic. I think KG's more dominant than Jokic, but like I have Jokic above KG, at least slightly above KG, as far as greatness.
Yeah. So yeah, like
I mean, even Kevin Garnett came and declared that Steph Curry is the GOAT of this era. So
Sure.
even Kevin Garnett is applauding Steph Curry, saying that he's the GOAT of this era. He should be the GOAT of this era.
Sure.
He should be, but let me ask this to casual hoops. Do you
Okay.
think that Steph Curry will be placed in in the GOAT conversation? Because he should be in that conversation, and I don't know why he isn't.
Well, as far as GOAT convo, I mean, look, as far as top 10, I can see that for sure. I don't know if I'd necessarily put him top 10, but he's at least like right outside of it for me personally. But as far as GOAT convo, look, just in my opinion, but I don't know if he should be GOAT candidate worthy. I mean, to me, Jordan's kind of like the clear cut GOAT, but there's certainly arguments for other players. I'm not going to say there isn't. I think there's an argument for many players. But as far as Steph Curry, I'm not sure if he's one of those, just in my opinion. But it's not like he's far outside of it. I mean, he's still one of the 10 to 15, in my opinion, greatest players of all time. And that's like a select few group of people. And I think that's a tremendous accomplishment and a compliment.
yeah. So just to explain my kind
I
of
mean,
side
I
of
would
it,
really love, as a Warriors fan, I would really love him to be in that conversation, but I don't think he's
I
that
understand.
ready to be in that conversation yet. He needs a little bit more time to be actually, you know, up there with all the greats.
Right.
Aircraft carrier says Jokic's got more accolades in his prime than KG. I don't
As far
think
as
so.
MVPs and whatnot, sure, but
He's got more. Yeah, he's got more MVPs, but
right,
I provided the evidence.
right.
The Jokic disrespect is just pure hate. I like Jokic. Jokic is
Yeah,
one of
I
my
like
favorite
Jokic.
players in the NBA. Yeah. I can't say way better. KG wasn't no slouch.
That's true. I agree with that.
I got Steph over KG, but you can't just dismiss KG like he was a ham sandwich.
Absolutely.
And then SGA, their aircraft carrier keeps saying that you are my son, and he says that you love Steph Curry.
Well, he's a Warriors fan. You got to give him that. I mean, you got to be fair. He's a Warriors fan. You know, like it's natural. You know what I'm saying, aircraft? But, you know, I can understand, you know, what you're saying to an extent. But that's all I'll say.
All right, Bill Walton. Bill Walton had a more dominant career on average than Nikola Jokic. What do you think about that?
Well, it's the natural comparison that people will say Bill Walton was the prototype, you know, Jokic, but with better defense. And pretty much it's true. I mean, obviously they have like different play styles because Jokic works more on the perimeter because he's in this era. Bill Walton worked more in the post because that was his era. But the way Walton even was a playmaker is different than the way Jokic is a playmaker, I think, at least slightly different. Like, honestly, I think Walton, well, I'd say he's probably even more unselfish than even Jokic, who is very unselfish. But, you know, Bill Walton was really just trying to look for the absolute best guy to give the ball to. And obviously he was a great shot blocker. I don't know how many blocks titles he has, but I know he at least has 1 or 2, I think. He won MVP. Now, with that one, he played like, 58 games or something like that, which is the least for an MVP, I think, for non-lockout seasons. So, you know, that's something I guess that could be mentioned, but like, you know, he still has the MVP and he has multiple all-defensive teams. And if the award existed, he probably would have won a Defensive Player of the Year, but again, what if? But, you know, it's easy to say he's a, you know, much, much, much greater defender than Jokic. And as far as rebounding, I'd say even a greater rebounder. As far as playmaking, I would give that to Jokic, you know, because he has an assist title. I don't think he has 2. I think he has 1 assist title. It's kind of a toss-up for me, but I can see going Bill Walton's way. It's just his dominance was just so short-lasted because of all of his injuries. But like you said, as far as an average, like for those first few seasons that he was healthy, I mean, that's enough to rival Jokic. But for the consistency, like you were saying earlier, I mean, I would maybe edge Jokic personally.
Yes, but we're not talking consistency.
Well, consistent dominance, like you said, for Duncan, who made like 15 All-NBA defensive teams.
Emmy in 1991.
1991? What?
Who? I didn't hear you, SGA. Anyway, I think what really takes Bill Walton over the edge is his 1977 season. That's the year that he won. He won a blocks title. He won a rebounding title, like you were talking about, and he won defensive first team, NBA second team behind Kareem, and he was an all-star. And then he was second in MVP votes behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's that really over his 10-year career really averages out amongst other things. In 78, he won the MVP, all the NBA first team, defense first team, and all-star also. So that really compounds his entire career. He had a 10-year career, really didn't win much other than that. I I don't consider the Six Men of the Year award a dominance award.
Right.
So, like, I'm not taking this into account. He did win that, though, in 1986, playing for the
Yep.
Celtics. I don't think that's dominant. I think that's your really
Right.
good bench player award.
Yeah. Right.
But I think that because again, let me just reread what Jokic has gotten as awards. He's a 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, and 3-time MVP. He won the championship once. I forgot. Bill Walton won the championship too in '86.
Yep.
But in comparison, the compounding of being dominant across the field, never won a statistical title. In the year that Bill Walton did win the championship and the Finals MVP, he was a first-team All-NBA, first-team All-Defense, and he won the rebounding blocks titles. That is one of the greatest seasons of all time, even not winning MVP.
Yep.
And Jokic has not gotten that. So, SJ, what are your thoughts?
So I have a very interesting fact about Bill Walton. He won an Emmy in 1991. Like that was something. He actually won an Emmy award in TV. I don't know, a show or something. He won. I looked at his biography.
Was that for him as a broadcaster or?
I think broadcaster.
Okay, that would make sense. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, he was a great broadcaster.
What was your thoughts on Bill Walton? What do you what kind of impact did he have on the game?
Oh,
Bill
past his
Walton.
claim, what kind of impact did he have on the game?
Yeah.
He was something that Casual Hoops had talked about. I think he really defined he really defines what one of the greatest centers are in NBA history. He covers down on defense, rebounding holistically, just getting possessions and enabling teams to be successful because you need possessions to score or regain possession while you're on defense. He was a very, very good scorer when he was near his prime. He was averaging around 20 points per game. He was, he won MVP. He was very competitive, but like he's on the same scale as somebody like Wilt Chamberlain in respect to doing it all. His length of time doing it in comparison to Wilt Chamberlain was minimal. However, he had the capability, and even when he was injured for years and years, he was able to be really the first time that he had a significant playoff run since his injuries started getting crazy. He had a bad surgery too that messed up his capabilities to get healthy. But in 1986, when he was actually able to get through a whole playoff run without getting injured, they won the championship.
Yep.
Not to say that he was the only driver on that team. It was a great team otherwise, but he was a major part of that team. And really, the thing that people forget about Bill Walton is that he got injured. He had serious injury problems. But when he was on the court and when he was playing, he was very impactful, arguably one of the most impactful players of all time on any team. Aircraft carrier. I'm talking about. So, are you telling me you don't think that Bill Walton, in respect to winning NBA championships, was similar to the ones that Wilt Chamberlain won in 1967 and 1972? Are you saying there's no similarities to that?
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Dort. I mean, because even though Wilt won Finals MVP in '72, like he was in a much more complementary role, more so than like I'm the lead superstar type of guy, basically. And even with '67, he played a similar role to Bill Walton. Like, yeah, he was the lead guy, but like, other guys were scoring a lot of points, even more points than Wilt, just like with Bill Walton. Like, I don't know if he's taking issue with like he thinks you're saying talent level, they're on the same scale or whatever, but like as far as what they accomplished, yeah, they're pretty much on the same level, at least for the little bit of time Walton played, especially.
Yeah, like, and to be clear, do I think that Bill Walton was as prolific of a scorer as Wilt Chamberlain? No.
Right.
But when they were winning, the impact to winning, they did
Right.
very similar things.
Right.
Rebounding, assists, blocks, and they both were good scorers. They both scored around 20 points per game when they won. I'm not counting 86 because 86 he was off the bench. But when
Right.
So
when he did,
what are you guys' thoughts on the uniforms for the All-Star game, the uniforms and the USA uniforms?
The
Do you like
uniforms?
do you dig the uniforms, or are they a little bit cheesy for you? Like, are they a little bit too much out there?
I'll say quickly, I'm going to be honest, I haven't even seen the uniforms, so I can't give an opinion.
I additionally have not seen the uniforms. What do you think?
I like the
Yeah.
uniforms, but they're not like team like East versus West like last year when the format was East versus West for All-Star game. I think that this format, I don't like this format. In my opinion, I don't think this is. I think I wish they would just have kept it to the old format. But like
Yep.
I was talking to Casual Hoops, I was saying they're trying to experiment with new ways of like doing the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Like they're
And
trying to
so far they're
experiment with
failing.
new things, so that's really good what they're doing, because leagues don't experiment with new things. Like they're just trying out new things and seeing which one works out and which one doesn't. And I'll watch the game and I'll see what I like about it, but I wish you just kept it like last year, because I don't know why the NBA keeps changing the All-Star game format every year. They're trying to, like, they go with the good format and then they end up changing it because they find out that the other one wasn't good enough.
Yeah. I'll say quickly, just, to put a pin in it, I guess. I mean, it's good to experiment sometimes. I mean, when they introduced the in-season tournament, I didn't completely hate that. Am I going to say in, career cases, oh, LeBron James has a cup? I'm probably never going to say that, to be honest, but like, it's an interesting thing that they did, but like with the All-Star game, I just think like it was so set in stone, especially for how long of a time it's been. I just feel like that's one thing that was not worth experimenting with. Clearly, because now they're on their fifth experimentation in the past 5 years. So clearly,
Because
from their perspective, it's not working.
the thing I don't understand about the All-Star game format is that why did it take the NBA so long to find out a perfect All-Star game format? They were like going, we want to go with the USA versus the world, and then we want to go with something else, and we want to go with something else. Like, just find one that works and stick with it. You keep changing the formats, you're gonna confuse people. What is the real All-Star format? Is it
Right.
East versus West? Is it USA versus the world? What is it? You keep
Right.
confusing people. You change it on people. Then they should just go with one format. Just go. Why can't they just go with East versus West and just stick with
Right.
East versus West? Because I know the East versus West was like popular. I mean, like everybody liked that better,
Right.
Then they could just stick with that, and then they want to change it. But now they change. I'm like, make up your mind. How do you want the All-Star game format to look like this year?
Oh.
Want it to be USA versus world, or you want East versus West? What do you want?
USA versus world, I think, is not a good long-term solution because
Yeah.
let's say the world
I mean-
just keeps winning. Let's say the world just keeps winning.
Right.
You just make the National Basketball Association in the United States look
USA
like
versus-
dog crap.
In a way, USA versus world is really good because you get to see the best players from the USA face off against the best players from the other countries, like France and that's what I like about USA versus world, because I want to see like USA players face off against players from other countries. That's really cool because they're representing their country. It's kind of like, think like when you're thinking of world, like when it's USA versus world. When you think of world, think like the Olympics. Like somebody's representing,
Sure.
Germany. Somebody's representing France. Somebody's representing this country. Somebody representing that country. So the world kind of is cool because it's kind of like the Olympics in a way, because they're representing their home country. They're representing where they're from. So I think that it's gonna be good for this format. I mean, I don't know if this is the long term. I don't know if next year's All-Star game they're gonna stick with this format, but I think that this year
Probably not.
it might.
but I don't know what they're gonna do next year.
Right. Right.
So yeah, but do you think that I mean it's gonna be good for the format this year? But um uh I think the team Candace and team Ken, team Charles and team Shaq. I think that one was the most dumb. Was the dumbest one ever.
Sure. Yeah.
I think
I don't
I
think I
think
don't think
compared
they.
to I think if you
I don't
compare
think.
this year's All Star game to last year's All Star game, I think like it was people said that that All Star game was boring, but people but like people were
I don't think they should mess with the East
last year
versus
at
West.
San Francisco, so they were all like excited, even though it was a dumb All Star game. Like like you're winning against Team A against Team B, then you have to play another game to face two other teams, and then you have the three of face against two more teams, and then you have the finals.
Yeah.
Aircraft at Kara asks SGA, how old are you?
I'm 29.
29.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think they should mess with the East versus West format. I think them I understand trying to be innovative, trying to change things up, but I think
Right.
it as a standard was a great concept of hey, this these are the kinds of players you may see coming up within a couple months to play for the NBA championships. Now they're not going to play together because for one,
Because when it was
the tra-
when it
can I
was
finish for a second?
oh,
SGA, yeah. So for the trade deadline passes, you go into the All-Star game, and these are the players that you may see in the championship, but they're all together and they all have that pride to go face each other to say we are the best against each other. Now, obviously,
Mhm.
reasons why they were trying to make some changes because there's been an issue with the effort behind it.
Right.
It seems that way. I would say so. So I
Yeah.
understand why they're trying to make it better. I just don't think I think they're attacking the symptoms
Yeah.
versus the issue. Um,
I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah. What's up, SJ?
but like if they're doing USA versus World, don't you want to see like don't you want to see other players represent their countries? Like Giannis is from Greece, and then Wemby's from France. Like, do you like to see that? Because then whatever. Like, if people are watching the game from all around the world, and somebody's from watching the game in Greece. If Giannis is playing, they'll cheer. They'll cheer. So they'll get hyped up for their favorite player. From they'll rep the the flag of their country. They'll wear the
Sure.
merchandise from for like they'll buy Greece hoodie or something, and they'll wear that while watching and cheering on Giannis. So I really like that part about. I think I think this is gonna be fun. I think this format's gonna be fun this year. It's gonna be a fun format. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll say real quickly. I, I don't know if they did this a couple years ago. I think they did, where they had like the two games separate, where they had a USA versus World game, and then they had the All Star game.
They did,
That
yeah.
that's much more interesting to me because then you can have both. You know what I'm saying? You can have both without it being the same game, where it just becomes convoluted. Because I just think East West is just. I mean, like Dart said, it's the two conferences facing off against each other, showing like, hey, these are going to be the guys in the running for the championship. From different teams and whatnot. And you know, I just think USA World should be its own thing.
Yeah, I'm more in that line also. It's they have the if you want to see the
So it
US
says it over here.
versus
So it says the 2026 NBA All-Star Game features a new USA versus World format, replacing the traditional East versus West showdown with a three-team mini tournament, two squads of US players and one international world. You know, and then they're playing at the Intuit Dome, Inglewood. on February 15th, and they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it more competitive. So I think like that's really cool, and it's like a round robin tournament featuring 3 12-minute games with the top teams advancing to the finals. I think like that's really cool for them to do that. Because that's really like it's really I like to make the game interesting, because for me, I'm very much into like I know like some people don't like experimenting and changing things around, but for me, I love that. Like I'm really for new stuff, like getting acquired to new stuff, like new format for how the All Star game is gonna be played. So that's just me, I like to see that. I like to see how it's gonna be this year, and then if it gets negative reactions, they might not do it next year. They
Right.
might just not. They might say like, "Look, it didn't get a lot of people didn't like the format this year. Then next year we might not do it next year. We might just do the East versus West like normal, or we lose something." But I mean, it's just. I mean, I like it because like you know Steph Curry's in it. I mean, it is the All Star game, but I mean, they're still gonna announce the players, so it's still gonna be like an All Star game.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your guys coming on in the conversation. SGA, like I said, I will be gone for some time, coming up in the near term. But if you want to do something, just shoot me an email. If it makes sense for my schedule, then I'm more than happy to go on your show and chat with you for a
I'll
little
shoot you an
bit.
email. Casual Hoops, would you like if I'm inviting what's your name again?
I didn't give out my name, but uh, as far as collaborations, I don't think I'd be consistent enough because I'm basically just starting out this channel. I mean, it's like a brand new channel essentially, so I haven't really been out this long, and I'm probably not going to be able to be
But
consistent with it.
it was great. It was really great coming on your channel. Um, I'll definitely check your content out. See, I'll check all your videos, everything, and I'll make sure to subscribe to your channel once I get off this live.
It was good talking with you, SGA.
It was good talking with you too. I'll make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Learn the Game. I'll give you a subscribe. I'll give you a like. I'll make sure to turn on my bell notification, so I'll be updated when you go live. But um, I love that you talk about sports. So you talk about NBA, like everything, like NHL, everything around sports. But um, it was great coming on, and if you're live again, I'll keep my notifications on, so I'll be notified when you go live again. But it's great joining you too, and hopefully you have a great rest of your Sunday of your Sunday afternoon. But I'll look forward
You
to
too.
seeing you back here on the live.
Yeah.
See you
Great talk.
later.
Great talk, Dart. I'll just ask you one thing. You don't mind if I post like clips from this video to my own channel and whatnot? Just wanted to ask
Do
you
your thing,
first.
man. Do your thing,
Okay,
man.
I appreciate it.
I got no issue.
All right.
I only got issue if you stalk me and post personal stuff on your channel,
Oh yeah.
which I don't
Right.
think you're gonna do. So, but
No.
anything related to
It was
this,
great coming on, gentlemen, and
yeah.
hope you guys have a great day.
You too. I appreciate
later.
it, Dart. You have a good day, Dart.
All right, and for everyone, learn the game.